Hello everyone and welcome back to another deck idea brought to you by Double Sleeved. Today we're covering the Android 20 and Dr. Mew slash Hellfighter 17 deck coming out in Power Absorbed. It's the newest green deck to come out, utilizing a character that we haven't seen since about set 5, which is probably the last time that we got some real Super 17 kind of archetypes. But it's new. We've got the Z deck, we've got Z leaders, and it's back. We don't have a reboot lead, which I would love to see a reboot of the old leader, but this can tie me over until then. Starting off with the leader, we've got the Android 20 and Dr. Mew. Standard 10k. When this card attacks, look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 1 Android or Machine Mutant card, both green with an energy cost of 6 or less among them to your hand, and then shuffle. So we're pretty much searching, 80% of the deck with this auto on attack, since we've got a lot of androids that are 6 or less. Outside of extra cards and secret rare, pretty much the only things that we can't grab, so it does make the deck extremely consistent. Awaken when your life is at 4 or less, or when you have 2 or more energy, while 1 or more Android 17 and Hellfighter 17 cards are in your Z energy and battle area. We draw 2 and take our life down to 6, and then flip over to Hellfighter 17 plans in motion. Auto, when this card attacks, draw 1. We've got to activate main once per turn, add up to 1 card from your life to your hand, and choose up to 1 of your opponent's unisons and remove a marker from it. So some pretty good kind of unison removal there, tied to the Self-Awakener as well, which is always good as well, just to being able to control how low you go. Especially when you're awakening and going to 6 life, it can be a bit awkward to sit at that 6. So this can bring you straight down to 5 and then remove a marker off a unison as well. Activate main once per turn. Place 1 card from under one of your Super 17 cards under this card, and then for the turn, reduce the skill cost of Z Awaken on Super 17 ready to absorb in your Z deck by 1 specified green. So a pretty great effect there to reduce the cost of the Z Awaken. This deck does heavily focus around the Z leaders, and we've got a fair few of them as well. So reducing the cost is always really good. It makes it cheaper to do our plays and get to kind of our end game. Jumping into the main deck, we kick things off with Android 17 Brainwashed Fighter. It's a 4k barrier, 1 drop, 1 specified green. So when this card is played from your hand, look at up to 5 cards from the top of your deck, add up to 1 green Android card with an energy cost of 6 or less among them, and then shuffle. Again, we're going to be searching pretty much all of the Android cards within this deck, which just makes it incredibly consistent. The only Android card we can't grab is the 8-drop Boss Monster, but when you're searching everything else, it thins out the deck and makes it more consistent. The next 1-drop is Hellfighter 17, the Brainwasher. 1-drop 4k. When this one is played, we draw a card. Activate main, place this card in the owner's drop. Play up to 1 Super 17 Brainwashed Fighter from your deck with its skills negated for the turn. And then shuffle. And activate main limit 1 if your leader is a green Super 17 card or green Hellfighter 17 card. And you place 1 green non-Hellfighter 17 card from your Z energy in the owner's drop. You add this card from your drop to your Z energy. So just kind of help to get to that secondary awaken by controlling the cards and getting the Hellfighters into the Z energy where we need them. Next, we've got Cell Powerful Quarry. It's another 1-drop, and this is a 5k, but we're playing this one for the Activate Battle, limit 1 for 1 green. We send this card from under our Super 17 Z leader to the owner's warp, and then our leader gains double strike for the battle. So it's a archetype type Chomper. We don't get the combo power, but at any point we can do the Activate Battle and give our leader double strike. And we do have a couple other plays that require a Cell as well, so it is a good card. Dr. Mew Vengeful Alliance. It's a 2-drop 10k with a permanent that relates to the Son Goku GT card. So not going to be useful in this deck, but we do play it for the Activate main. Limit 1. If your leader is a green Super 17 card, you have 4 or more energy, and you place this card from your hand in your drop. Play up to 1 Android 17 and 1 Hellfighter 17 card with an energy cost of 1 from your drop with their skills negated. Very similar to the Jiren promo, the yellow Jiren promo that plays out the 1-drops. This does require 4 energy, which is later in the game, but we can at least have another option to get these 17s back out onto the field if they get removed. Then we have Android 17 and Hellfighter 17 synchronized. This is an SR coming out in the new set. It's a 4-drop 15k. We're not going to be paying 4 for this card. We've got to activate main limit 1 for 1 green. If your leader is a green Super 17 card or green Hellfighter 17, you have 2 or more energy, you play this card from your hand. So for 1 energy, it's just an easy way to get this card out. Activate main limit 1, we place this card in the owner's drop and play up to 1 Android 17 card and 1 Hellfighter 17 card, both green with an energy cost of 1 from your deck and or drop with its skills negated for the turn, and then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So again, just another way to get those cards back out onto the field if they do get removed, and if we don't have the energy to play this card, then we can just do the Dr. Mew as well. Hellfighter 17 Calculated Cruelty, a 3-drop 15k. This one is 3 specified green, but again, we've got an activate main to play this card out for cheap. It's a limit 1 for 1 green. Similar to the previous one, leader's a green Super 17 or green Hellfighter 17 card, and you have a Android 17 card in play, you get to play this card from your hand. So a bit of synergy there between the 2 cards. We can play the synchronized and then play the 17 immediately after, or if we've got the Android 17 brainwashed, then we can just play this card out. And then activate main limit 1 if your leader's a green Super 17 or green Hellfighter 17 card, and you place 1 green non-Hellfighter from your Z energy in the owner's drop. Again, you add this card to your Z energy. Moving into some of the Super 17 cards, we've got a 6-drop Hell's Avenger. This is a 20k blocker. Auto if your leader is a green Super 17 card or green Hellfighter 17 card. A lot of these cards are going to have a very similar kind of condition on them since it relates to the leader and the Z leaders. When this card attacks, use up to 1 card from under this card in a combo, and your opponent places 1 of their Z energy in the owner's drop. So some pretty useful kind of an effect there, being able to remove our opponent's Z energy. We can stop our opponents from activating their Z Awaken or getting into some of their really strong Z cards. A very interesting kind of mechanic that they've brought into green. Activate main for limit 1 for 1 green. If you have 3 or more energy and you choose 1 Hellfighter 17 card in your Z energy and 1 Android 17 card in your battle area, draw 1 card, play this card from your hand, place the chosen cards with this skill under this card, and this card gains double strike and barrier for the turn. So we have a 20k double strike barrier blocker for 1 energy, and all we need to do is fix our Z energy and have that 17 out onto the field, which a lot of these cards do. It's very easy to get this card out. Moving into the 8-drop, we've got Super 17 Onyx Lightning. So this one is a bit more difficult to find within the deck since we can't search it with some of our cards, being an 8-drop. But if you run enough copies, you're bound to find it. It's also a 0-cost 5k combo, which is really good. But what this card does, it's a 30k blocker. We've got an auto, same condition for the leader. If your leader's a green Super 17 card, when a card is placed from under this card in the owner's drop by your leader's skill, we choose 1 of our opponent's battle cards, KO it, and then our opponent discards 1 from their hand. Activate main, limit 1 for 2 green energy. If you have 4 or more energy, you choose a Hellfighter 17 in your Z energy, Android 17 in your battle area, play this card from your hand, place all the chosen cards under it, and then this card gains double strike, barrier, and dual attack for the turn. So we're getting the added dual attack compared to the 6-drop, and an incredibly powerful card again for that 2 energy. We do need 4 energy available for the turn, and we do need a little bit of dancing around to get the Android and the Hellfighter into the right areas. But if you can meet those conditions, then this is a very powerful card to get out. Next, we've got an older card, a promo. It's Super 17 Relentless Absorption. This is a green-yellow card, 3-drop. We've got Energy Exhaust, Standard, Successor, so for 1 green or 1 yellow. Successor, for those that don't know, so if you have the energy cost of the card on the field, you can pay the cost of this being 1 green, and then if it equals the same energy cost of this card, you send the card on the field to the drop and play this card. So if we've got a 3-drop out, which is very easy to do with the Hellfighter 17 or some kind of combination of the 1-drops and things like that, we can very easily get this card out for 1 green. And then a Union Absorb, limit 1, again for 1 green or 1 yellow. If your leader is an Android card and you have 4 or more energy, you may place up to 1 Cell card from your deck or drop area under this card. If you do, choose up to 1 Super 17 Cell Absorbed or Super 17 Hellstorm Unleash in your deck or hand. play it with its keyword skills negated for the turn, and then shuffle your deck if you look through it. It's really good that we can search the cell from deck or drop area, and it's even better that we can search the Super 17 from deck or hand. It just makes it more consistent to get this card out. This is one of my favorite cards that we've got in Dragon Ball Super card game. I really like the artwork of this card, and just the effects on it is so punishing as well. I'm a big fan of Android decks, so any chance to get this card in a deck, I will definitely jump at it. But what this card is, it's a 6-drop 20k. It has critical, dual attack, and deflect. Now, it's worth noting that those keyword skills would be negated if you play it off the Super 17 Relentless Absorption, but we have the Auto Sparking 10 that wouldn't be negated, since that's a keyword and not classified as a keyword skill. So as long as we meet the condition, we can get this effect the turn we play it with the previous Super 17, which is Sparking 10. So if you have 10 or more cards in the drop, when this card attacks, if your leader is a green Android card, your opponent chooses 2 cards from their hand and places it in the drop area. Pretty good for a 20k attacker, especially if this card's able to stick around, and you can get a dual attack 20k critical. That's going to make them pitch 4 cards if you get both attacks off. An incredible card. It's a bit outdated these days, especially when you have things running around with double strike barrier, dual attack, and all that for 2 energy, but still one that I would like to try and find a place within an Android related deck. Next, we've got Infernal Messenger, an extra card. It's a 1-drop. We're going to activate main if your leader is a green Android card. Look at up to 10 cards from the top of your deck. Choose up to 2 Android 17, Hellfighter 17, or Super 17 cards among them and add them to your hand. A 1-drop +2 is, well, it's a +1 because you will ditch this card from hand, but being able to search out 2 relevant cards for the deck is incredibly good, especially when it's not restricted to any kind of energy cost, so we can search out any of the 17 Hellfighter 17 or Super 17 cards that we have. Shocking Death Ball, a pretty standard negate, even on theme with Super 17 there, as well as Homicidal Clones, another standard negate that we see running around in green. We've gone for Cell Max, Deliverer of Despair. It's a 1-drop. If your leader's green, you play it from hand. We can't attack with this card if you have 3 or less energy, and it can't be removed from our battle area as well. It's an ultimate, and it's got quadruple strike, so this can very easily close out games. And if a skill would remove this card from the battle area, we choose all of our opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, KO them, and place 1 card from our opponent's life in their drop area. On theme with the androids, we've got Android 18 Bionic Blitz as our super combo. So when it's used in a combo from our hand, our opponent bottom decks a card. And then we've got a Android 17 Impending Crisis. This is just a 1-drop negate, and we play this card out. And if our leader is an Android card, when it's played, we choose a battle card with an energy cost of 4 or less that has Android in its name from the deck and place it into the drop area. So we can put things like the 17 into the drop area to then cycle our Zing energy and things like that if we need to. This will obviously put the Android 17 onto the field. So we can put the 17 onto the field, get the Hellfighter into our Z energy, switch our Z energy around, and then that opens up our plays for some of the Super 17s that we have. Moving into the Z deck, and this is definitely a big focus on the deck, being able to switch around these leaders. But moving into some of the staples, we've got Frieza, as well as the Jiren. Pretty standard, while we have a small kind of Z deck pool. These are going to be running around in pretty much most Z decks. But moving into some of the more unique ones, we've got Super 17 ready to absorb. We'll kick things off with this one since it does get the cost reduced with the leader. So it's 2 Z energy, Z Awaken for 2 green energy, which can be reduced down by 1 if we place 1 card from under a Super 17 under our leader. When our life is at 4 or less over the green Hellfighter, so we've got Z stack 2 over a green Super 17 leader. So when we put this into play or on top of a leader, we place 2 of the specified cards from our Z deck under this card. And then at the end of our opponent's turn, we place this card from under your Z leader on top of your leader. Bit of a unique effect there. We've got to activate main once per turn. Place up to 1 green Android card with an energy cost of 1 from your deck or drop area under this card, and then shuffle your deck if you look through it. So we get a couple of ways to get cards underneath this. and then at the end of our opponent's turn, we get to switch into this leader. Super 17, Bound by Blood. This is a 3 Z Energy, Z Awaken. We've got 2 green and 2 generic energy when your life is at 2 or less. If an Android 18 card is under your leader, and you place 1 card from under a Super 17 card in your battle area in the owner's drop, at the end of your turn, place this card from under your leader on top of your leader. So we start to see some sequencing here onto our, at the start of our opponent's turn, or at the end of our turn, going into our opponent's turn, we get to switch into this leader, making it a 20k, which is really powerful. And then auto once per turn, when your opponent attacks, choose up to one of your Super 17 cards and switch to active mode. Really good when you have cards that have double strike and things like that you want to attack with, but also have blocker, so it's a great way to get them to restand. And auto once per turn, if it's your opponent's turn, when an opponent switches one of their energy to rest mode, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with an energy cost of 4 or less and KO it. Our opponent can play around this effect just by playing, something with a higher energy cost and things like that, but it's definitely an awkward one, especially if they've got low cost cards on the field. Moving into the last card of the deck, it's Super 17, Diabolical Union. 3 Z Energy, Z Awaken, 2 green energy, 2 generic when your life is at 2 or less over the green Hellfighter. Standard auto, when this card attacks, draw 1 card. Another auto once per turn. If it's your turn, when an opponent's energy is switched to rest mode, switch this card to active mode and choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and KO it. So no energy restriction there, and if our opponent rests a card to negate or things like that, we get to restand and have another 20k swing. And then activate main, if a cell card is under your leader and you place 1 card from under a Super 17 card in your battle area in the owner's drop, we get to place this card from under your leader on top of your leader. So we've got a couple of different ways to get this card out. It does cycle cards back under the leader as well, which is really good, especially so that we can continue to cycle around at the end of our opponent's turn and things like that. We go into this card at the start of our opponent, or at the end of our turn, we go into the Super 17 Bound by Blood, and we can continue to switch around and fix the cards underneath our Z leaders to get the effects that we want. And that's pretty much the deck. It's definitely a unique one. It'll be interesting to see how the Z deck kind of functions, whether it's powerful enough to kind of close out games alongside the support of some of the Super 17 cards. Green is definitely lacking in the last few sets, so a lot of people are keen to see it back on the map. I'm always keen to see more Android 17s in the meta. But as always, if you do enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you at the next deck idea.